Board members present this evening is Mr. Reginald Underwood, representing the Reedy Church District, Mr. Bobby Popowitz, representing the Port Royal District, Mr. Jeff Seeley, representing the Bowling Green District, and I'm Wayne Akers, and I represent the Madison District. Amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Underwood?
Yes, I do have I'd like to discuss the personnel matter in closed session.
Okay.
If we need to add it to the agenda, I'd like to do that.
Okay.
Personnel matter.
And we do have a closed meeting on personnel already on the agenda.
And also, I'd like to, for the board to recognize that today is National Teachers Day. Certainly want to add that to our agenda as well.
Okay. Is there a particular point you want Mr. Underwood on the agenda to place that that item? Is it something that you would like to talk about and discuss, or did you want to put it on the consent agenda as an item?
Mr. Vice Chair, I guess I could probably add as agenda item maybe after as a I think number 8, new business, yes.
Okay.
There are some comments that I'd like to make
Thank you.
regarding teachers in the county.
Okay. Does staff have any agenda amendments? Board members, any other board members have any amendments to the agenda? All right. Is there a motion to place recognition of National Teacher Appreciation on the agenda of the new business? Second? Second. Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Seeley, that we replace or that we place on the agenda recognition of National Teacher Appreciation Day under new business, item number 9A. Discussion on the motion. All in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed nay, and the motion is carried. Opening board comments. Mr. Underwood?
None at this time.
Mr. Popowitz?
No, sir.
Mr. Seeley?
No, sir.
The one comment I would have is I've been approached by the leadership of Lady Smith Day, and they have asked that the board would consider approving the use of the parking lot at the Lady Smith Library for handicap parking for Lady Smith Day. Correct, Mr. Nibel? And I think that since it's county-owned, we need to get a board approval.
Do we need a motion for that?
Please.
Like,
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Popowitz, that the board allows the Lady Smith Village, the Lady Smith Day Committee to use the Lady Smith Library parking lot as a handicap parking lot for that particular festival day. Discussion on the motion. All in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay, and the motion is carried. Mr. Ivel, we've got your authority. Thank you. All right, presentations. The VDOT bi-monthly report. I think Mr. White had made arrangements with Mr. Thomas that if he could come on, I believe it's the 24th, or is it the 1st of June?
He will make his comments tonight as part of the 6-year plan public hearing, either before or after.
Okay. Rather than being special, he'll just do it on the 6th when we get to that particular item. The next item on the agenda is discussion of public protection classification summary report. Chief Lehman. See a light on?
I don't see it yet,
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, it's my pleasure tonight to present the findings of the 2011 Insurance Service Office Public Protection Classification Summary Report. In your package, you should find a copy of the ISO report, a summary of findings, and 2 maps to use as an example. This comprehensive evaluation began back in May in 2010, and it was a total team effort of all the different agencies and departments that you see listed above. The Insurance Service Office collects information on municipal fire protection efforts in communities throughout the United States. In each of these communities, ISO analyzes the relevant data using their fire suppression ratings schedule. They then assign a public protection classification from 1 to 10. 1 generally represents superior property fire protection, and 10 indicates the area's fire suppression programs don't meet ISO's minimum criteria. By classifying communities' abilities to suppress fires, ISO helps the community evaluate their public fire protection service. The program provides a countrywide standard that helps the fire departments in planning and budgeting for facilities, equipment, and training. And by lowering or securing lower fire insurance premiums for communities with better public fire protection, the PPC program provides incentives and rewards for communities that choose to improve their firefighting services. The evaluation process consisted of 3 areas. The first area was the 911 center, and this looked at fire alarms, the communication systems, the telephone systems, the number of lines, staffing, and the dispatch system. The next was the water delivery system, and this looked at including the condition, the maintenance of the hydrants, careful evaluation of the amount of available water compared to the amount needed to suppress fires. And then the third was the fire protection services, and this basically looked at equipment, staffing, training, geographical distribution of the assets. The one thing that I want to comment on this evening is this is the first time that Caroline County ever had a consolidated approach. In the past, and the last evaluation was done in 2001, all of the different independent fire companies were basically evaluated by themselves. This time what we did is we took a collective county-wide approach, and basically we leveraged the assets and the resources of the entire county, as you'll see in the improvements when I show you the summary of findings. But again, it has been a total team effort, and we've made not only in the fire and rescue, but it's been improvements in all the areas, both the 911 center as well as the water distribution center system, as you'll see as we progress through this. We completed the evaluation in August of 2010. This was then turned over to the ISO for their review, and then just recently we received the results. And what you see here, the results is a class 4/8B. And basically what that is, in many communities, ISO develops a split classification. The first class applies to properties within 5 road miles of a fire station and within 1,000 foot of a fire hydrant. The second class applies to properties within 5 road miles of a fire station, but beyond 1,000 foot of a hydrant. What you see before you is the 2001 classification and then our new 2011 classification. What you have to understand here is the classification 6, the only area that actually had a 6 rating was Bowling Green. All of the other areas in 2001 had a 9 rating based on the water distribution system as a large factor, but because we weren't leveraging the resources of our other departments, everybody else was a 9. So what we've basically done is we have improved from a 6 to a 4, and then with the properties within 5 miles of the fire station but beyond 1,000 foot of a hydrant went to a Class 8B. And then properties over 5 miles of the fire stations remain a 10. This is just an example of fire departments or communities throughout the Commonwealth and where you stand in the classification rating. As you can see, there's only 26 departments in a Class 4 rating. There are only 5 in a Class B. In a Class B, basically, if we had an improved water supply system in that particular area, all of that rating would be a 4. What you see before you here is examples of the 5 road miles, and again, I emphasize road miles from the existing fire stations. So any of the area in white is either going to be a 4 or it's going to be an 8B under the classification scale. Again, depending on the availability of water and where the properties are located from a water source. Just a real quick analysis of the 3 different areas that we talked about. Receiving and handling fire alarms. We improved in that area. This basically accounts for 10% of the community's overall scores based on how well the fire department receives and dispatches fire alarms. The following was evaluated: the communication center, including the number of operators at the center; the telephone service, including the number of telephone lines coming into the center; the listing of emergencies numbers in the telephone book; the dispatch circuits and how the center notifies the fire department about the location of the emergency. The next area of evaluation counts 50% of the overall score, and that is the fire protective services. Basically, the ISO reviews the distribution of fire companies throughout the area and checks that the fire department conducts annual pump tests and apparatus inventories are maintained. They also look at fire company records, training records, as well as maintenance records, the number of individuals who participate in the training, the number of individuals that actually respond to the emergencies, and the maintenance and service testing of the fire department's equipment. 40% of the overall score is based on the community's water supply. This part of the survey focuses on whether the community has sufficient water supply for fire suppression beyond the daily maximum consumption. ISO surveys all components of the water supply system, including pumps, storage, and filtration. They observe fire flow tests at representative locations throughout the community to determine the flow rate and the water main provided. They also review the condition and maintenance of the hydrants and their records. Last, they count the distribution of the fire hydrants no more than 1,000 foot from the representative locations. So that's basically what they're looking at. That's what we were evaluated on. In your package, the overall score was a 68 out of a possible 100 points, which put us in the category of a 4. We looked and evaluated the summary of findings and looked at what we already had done to improve our services and to improve for our next evaluation. And we'd already implemented some of these programs. They were already ongoing. That was the establishment of a centralized record management system. We got hit pretty hard on record management from the standpoint that everybody was doing their own records. And now what we've done is centralize that. That includes training personnel, inventory systems, and inspections and pre-plans. So we've already taken measures to improve that. Upgraded our training resources and AV materials. We've started to purchase a little bit at a time. We've also applied for a grant that we have pending right now to increase the material in our library. We've established minimum training standards. I think you all got a copy of that several months ago. Minimum qualification, professional standards at all levels and ranks within the organization. We've also established a centralized training program, and that includes career and volunteer orientation packages, a structured recruit training program, a 12-month training calendar that's been published, and we've assigned committees to review in-station and multi-company drill needs. Future needs that we looked at for consideration would be the Carmel Church Fire Station, the new public safety radio system, additional 911 dispatchers, continued improvements to the water distribution system, installation of the dry hydrants, and the expanding automatic aid with neighboring departments. And we're also working on that right now with new mutual aid agreements, which has the automatic language written in it. Probably the biggest impact that could happen right now is the Carmel Church Fire Station. If I had to say one thing that would improve our service delivery, and as you can see, this is just a map indicating we just took Roger Clark Boulevard and Enterprise Parkway and just plugged a station in right there and went 5 road miles out. It could be moved either way to increase or decrease coverage areas and so forth. But right now, Carmel Church is still a 10. That whole area, because of the distance away from the fire station in Ladysmith or Bowling Green or Frog Level. By doing this, that area, since it is hydrant and it is water, you do have water supply capabilities, could in some situations go directly to a 4 classification. The biggest message, I guess, that I need to get across tonight is insurance companies and not the ISO establishes the rates that they charge, or the premiums they charge to the policyholders. Although the public protection classification information plays an important part in the decision of insurers make affecting the availability and price of the property insurance, in fact, virtually all U.S. insurance companies use the PPC information in one or more of the following ways: to identify opportunities for writing new businesses, to achieve a reasonable concentration of property risk, to review loss experience, and to write policies, offer coverage, and establish deductibles for individuals, homes, and businesses. So it's basically a tool for the insurance companies itself. And again, the methodologies you can see listed below are some of the guidelines they use. The public protective classification program recognizes the efforts of communities to provide fire protection services to citizens and property owners. A community investment in the fire mitigation is a proven and reliable predictor in the future of fire losses. So insurance companies use the PPC information to help establish fair premiums for fire insurance. Generally, lower premiums in communities with better fire protection, by offering economic benefits for the community that invest in their firefighting services. The program provides a real incentive for improving and maintaining public fire protection. So what can the homeowners and the businesses in our community do? Basically, the new ISO rating takes effect June 1st, 2011. The insurance companies have that information 75 days prior to that date. Basically, the homeowners and businesses need to contact their insurance companies to see if they're entitled to any cost savings at all. They can also consider installing a dry hydrant on their property if they have a water supply such as a lake or a pond. And again, remember that the insurance rates are set by the individual insurance carriers and not the ISO. That concludes the presentation. I'd be willing to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Board members have any questions of Chief Lehman concerning the presentation?
No, sir.
Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Lehman, I guess the number one question I'm going to get asked is, how much of an impact will this have, particularly around Bowling Green? Was Bowling Green at a lower rating or at the same rating that we're at now, or has it indeed changed?
Bowling Green's improved. It's gone from a 6 to a 4. Any area within that 5 miles of the fire station and within 1,000 foot of a hydrant or a dry hydrant, some type of water source, that particular rating for that property would be classified as a 4.
So is that going to be generally true then for the other districts that are near fire stations?
That is correct at this point in time. Again, in the past, that wasn't part of the factor because we hadn't considered the other stations and so forth. They were basically qualifying it as mutual aid versus one department. Since 2009, when the board adopted the fire rescue ordinance and made one department, now we leverage all those resources and assets.
And I guess that's the biggest point we need to make, that now that we've consolidated, it does have an impact. The other question I had was, does AP Hill's mutual aid with us have any impact?
It does not get counted as automatic aid because they are not automatically dispatched at this point in time. It's considered mutual aid. It does play an impact, but it doesn't get as much as the automatic aid. But they are included in some of the first alarm assignments based on geographical locations of the incident.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, I'm really glad you gave this presentation tonight because I just paid my insurance bill today. It's due June the 4th, and my premium came down $127 a year. So I don't know if that's all due to this happening or not, but I was wondering why it came down, but it came down $127 a year.
And I agree, Mr. Akers. I think that's the biggest message that we need to get across tonight is, again, effective June 1st, this goes into effect, and the citizens need to contact their insurance companies to see if they do get a cost savings.
Yeah, but they did have the information prior, because my insurance premium was not due until June the 9th. I believe it is either the 8th or 9th, so the new cycle, the new year starts in June. So I'm assuming they took that into consideration if they had the information.
They had it 75 days prior to June 1st.
Great. Sounds great. No questions? Thank you, Mr. Lehman. Appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
At this point, I'm going to turn the chair back over to the chairman. One more minute, okay. All right, let's move down to the consent agenda, and if there's any items, then we'll come back to the reports and supervisor liaison reports, since the chairman does have participation on that. Is there an item on the agenda on the consent agenda that you'd like to remove or have questions about? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion made by Mr. Popowitz, seconded by Mr. Seeley, that the consent agenda is approved as presented. Discussion on the motion? All in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay, and the motion is carried. Have you addressed now? All right. We're back to number 2. Reports.
We're going to do liaison reports?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Akers and board members, for your indulgence. As you know, I was in Northern Virginia, which is a lot of fun getting back. But the first one we have is the education, which is Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Yesterday, met with the chairman of the school board and the superintendent of the school, and Mr. Pardon, and we met and had a very good discussion, and it went well. They have given us, or they gave me some information about the difference of what they needed and what is being proposed. And I really wanted to make it clear, because I think there was an article in the paper, I was told there was an article in the paper that indicated that we'd recommended giving the schools $250,000 and cutting $500,000 out. And that's not true. It was to give them $500,000 of the $750,000 they'd asked for. So we were talking about cutting out $250,000,
Right.
not the $500,000. But I understand there's an article in the paper about that. In fact, they told me about it yesterday. But I wanted to clear that up. We are going to, and I say we, I'm speaking about county administrator, myself, and the superintendent, and the chairman. We'll probably start meeting after the middle of June, after graduation, on a regular basis to discuss possibly formulating some type of understanding or base, and we've talked about this before, where they would receive a percentage of the tax revenues and for real estate and maybe personal property, and then come to the two boards and present it at maybe a joint meeting. So that's pretty much the discussion we had yesterday. Also, with the planning and recreation, the second meeting with a transportation consultant, Kimley and Horn, was held this past Friday. Much of the background data collection has been completed. The project submission packet for the Federal Transit Administration is being prepared. with a meeting of FDA officials tentatively scheduled for June the 9th or 10th. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on April the 20th on the comprehensive plan amendment to designate a portion of the Commonwealth Church area as an urban development area, and staff will present the proposed planned amendments to the board later this evening. The Department of Conservation and Recreation published revised stormwater management regulations on March 28th, and staff has reviewed the changes and note that the regulations are much improved over the first version, and if the board members will remember, there was a great deal of concern on our part as well as staff's part as to what they were going to start requiring. Staff, however, did forward additional comments to the revised regulations last week. The redistricting committee presented its report to the board at the March 22nd Board of Supervisors meeting. The first of two public hearings was held on the 12th, and the board discussed the options further at its April the 14th work session and directed staff to advertise amended 5 and 6 district options, which is subject to a public hearing later this evening. The Parks and Recreation Department is continuing in its effort in getting services into Fort Royal and the Reedy Church districts. During the spring break, the children in the respective districts were afforded the opportunity to participate in an egg hunt that provided a variety of treats and prizes. Although the numbers were not as much as hoped, the parents and participants were gratified about the department's continuous efforts. The Adult Volleyball League has begun play, with matches being played at the Community Center on Monday evenings at 6:30. The league has shifted from the fall season to the spring season to avoid competing against the high school volleyball leagues for quality officials. The Parks and Recreation Department is currently accepting registration for the much-anticipated youth fall football season. The football program is beginning to attract children from various locations of the county, which has in essence contributed to the success of some of the teams. And I believe that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akers. Our next report will be Technology in the Town of Bowling Green. Mr. Seeley.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Shebel, when you get a chance, would you come up here for a second?
From the technology perspective, we were supposed to have a meeting with an organization that has been postponed. We've not heard back from them. So once we get a date, we will meet with them. Town of Bowling Green, the May 14th is the Art and Garden Walk in town, and it is also the same day as Relay for Life. So encourage all the folks to join everybody in Bowling Green and then come on over to the Relay for Life. It will run all day and into the evening. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Public Safety, Economic Development, and the Town of Port Royal.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Bob Boyce?
Yes, sir. Couple things on safety. We are awarded the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Assistance Grant for firefighters, amount of $275,679, and this grant will fund protective firefighter clothing, gear, and as well as the purchase and installation of special firefighter gear, washing machines, and dryers. Department is also awarded Emergency Management Performance Grant from the Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $19,228, and that grant will be funding technology upgrades to the county's current Emergency Operations Center. The American Heart Association has also conducted a site evaluation to maintain certification as a designated CPR training center, so we have that. And the department hosted the 2011 annual Spring Fire School with approximately 320 first responders attending. And the department has also participated in Career Day at Caroline High School and standardized all of its large diameter supply hoses to a 4-inch hose. Under economic development, one of the things that we have actually won the CEDA Award, CEDA Award, Community and Economic Development Award from the Virginia Economic Developers Association. We won that award for landing McKesson, and that also puts us into the Southern Region Awards category, so we'll be competing for that as well. And that award was accepted by our Department of Economic Development Director, Gary Wilson, on April 8th in Charlottesville. We've also, earlier in the last month, actually a couple months ago, at the end of March, we actually welcomed Penny Channery, Kate Channery, Tweedy, and Leanne Ladden for the Heartstrings to Secretary event, and to celebrate the birth of Caroline's famous native son, Secretariat. The Carmel Church Station, of course, also continues to be of interest to developers and business folks here in America and overseas. And the alternative analysis study is continuing to make progress, and that was a grant paid for from the federal government. Something else that's out is our new 2011 Visitors Guide. And I want to send kudos to Ms. Beard and staff on the job that they did on this. It's a really excellent piece. I took some copies of last year's. I had the fortunate opportunity to go up to the Business Roundtable in Alexandria, Virginia. They invited me to be the keynote speaker for that small group of small business owners, and we talked a little bit about how in the future Caroline County may be a presence throughout the state and how they might look at expanding here into our county. And there is one particular guy that makes cupcakes, and they are the most delicious cupcakes I've ever had in my life, and if we could get one of those in Caroline, we would be in high cotton. So anyway, that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Popowitz. Mr. Underwood, Utilities and Public Works.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. We are working with the Dawn team to move into phase 2 of the wastewater plan. There's roughly $500,000 that we're looking at, working with, that was left over to. It's certainly not going to take care of all of the need in the Reedy Church area, particularly the Dawn area, but it's a good start, and we'll definitely be coming back and talking about it again. In terms of the Rappahannock River water intake permit, that status and the report has been given to the administration, and we'll take it to the administrator, and we'll be looking at that, and they'll be coming back to us. They do have a meeting with the regulatory agency on the fish study for the Rappahannock. As far as the wastewater treatment plant upgrade goes, the comprehensive agreement has been signed. The information for the bond and the insurance has been received. The contractor is on site. The kickoff meeting has been held, and the MEB has submitted the site plan, the site grade plan for planning. In terms of increasing water production in the Carmel Church area for the Econo Lodge, well number 2 has been drilled so that you have 100,000 gallons per minute capacity. That permit was accepted. The re-drilling of the second well for the Econo Lodge to get it up to 40 million gallons per minute. I think it's 40,000. It's 40, but I think it's 40,000 gallons per minute. That has taken place. And finally, they're looking at drilling well number 3 for the Econo Lodge to make sure they do have ample water there. There's been some concern about the quality of water there. We're waiting on the approval from the health department regarding the green stand filters in Carmel Church. That is taking place. In terms of expanding the water main extension down to Caroline Pines, CSX has approved to allow us to use the crossing for the water pipe there. That has been approved. They did send comments back. There's some comments from the Virginia Department of Transportation as well as the Health Department, but nothing significant, and they're working with that. The easement acquisitions are ongoing, and that should be finished very shortly, and we hope to advertise the project within the next week. In terms of painting the water towers, the contract will come before us on the 24th, and That's for painting of the green storage tanks at the high school and the ground storage tank as well. The SCC has made a ruling regarding Lake Caroline residents in terms of receiving water from Caroline County. And the water company is to make a permanent connection and a formal agreement to purchase water from the county for those residents. That has been done. That was ruled. In terms of water supply, there's a draft that was submitted to the DEQ for review, and we're working on a draft for a drought response in case there's a need for the chief to send out, in case there's a drought in the county, a low water supply. Additionally, we're looking at backflow. That's one of the things that causes issues in homes, and we're working on a building code, and I'll put a draft together about backflow into the county's water system. Sometime in June, there will be a presentation regarding wholesale water purchases for the county. That should come to us probably at our June meeting. I think we have one in June. That meeting will take place at that time. Supervisor Popowitz had asked about privatization of services to the county, and Mr. Parton is working on that very diligently, and we're hoping to look and see what services can be privatized and look at is it going to save the county money or is it not going to save the county money. So they are doing that very diligently. The Gator vehicle that was asked to be transferred to the State Fair has been transferred to them. In terms of the Public Works Division, the package has been submitted to the Department of Transportation for approval to advertise the use of that doctor's office there for the, let me see here, excuse me just one second, for the Victory Center, if that's correct. And they hope to advertise that by the end of this month. Says the Victory Park will be assembled, have the documents assembled, and that's the port roll office that I'm just talking about. So the documents are being assembled, and that's going to go to the Virginia Department of Transportation, and hopefully that should be approved, or excuse me, it has been approved. In terms of pest control for the county, we've implemented a program finally, and 1/4 of the treatment has already been performed. So that's in place. Also, there's the painting of the courthouse under Public Works. They're working on the RFP now and anticipate the work to start in late spring there. Additionally, there's the roof replacement work that needs to be done. The contract recommendation should come to the board at our next meeting, May 24th. And with anticipated replacement of the roof sometime in the spring. And finally, one of the big projects, the Dawn Library construction, that is moving quite fast. 90% of the plumbing has been completed. 90% of the electrical work has been completed. 50% of the HVAC is completed. The well is to be drilled this week, so they are moving very quickly, and the sewer system should be installed next week. And finally, we talked about upgrades to the sound system here in the auditorium. That is started, it is underway. It should be completed by the end of May.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Then I believe the last one would be Finance and Communications, which is mine, and as the board knows, we've all been involved with finance for the past couple of months, so we've worked on the budget. I'm not going to belabor that. We did set the tax rate, and we have had multiple meetings with the school board to determine our contribution to them. So we are still in the process of finalizing the budget. Mrs. Hatcher's done a great job in giving us options, and I think the board will make that final determination of where we find the other $750,000 worth of proposed cuts that we have to make within the budget. So I'm sure we're going to work on that a lot more. Lastly, but not least, to be brief, the treasurer and I spoke today, and I think one of the things that we're going to look at, it's too late for this particular round, but we're going to try to email tax bills out. And possibly we can have citizens who'd like to sign up for this process give us their email address, and we will email their bill to them, which will save the county, I'm not sure, the stamp is like 44 cents, but studies show it costs between $20 and $25 to mail something when you count all the people time in. So if we could do that, we could save a lot of money, and the added benefit is we could make it easy to do business with the county. You have to come in, stand in line, you have to mail things. I think that's something we're going to look at. So we did just discuss that today, and the possibility of doing it in December, I guess, when our next tax bills go out. We'll, discuss it with the board and see if the board would like to move forward with that. But I thought it was a good idea to at least do something of that nature. So that's finance and communications. We still are working on the options for our narrowband radio system. And Mr. Seeley and I guess we'll have to work together because it's kind of communications and technology. So we'll, move forward with that. So that's finance and communications. We did the consent agenda. Would the board like to handle agenda items number 8 and 9, or either or? You added 9A?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Recognition of national teacher appreciation.
Oh, outstanding. Well, maybe we should do that. The national teacher's not here yet. We should do that after 7:30?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, agenda item number 8. Mr. Partner is going to give us an idea of where we are with privatization, what he's looked at so far, next steps, and possibly when we move forward. Mr. Partner?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have in your packet a summary of what staff's been working on in terms of privatization. We have been working with a potential solid waste vendor and also a water wastewater vendor to try to obtain some preliminary cost estimates for these services. We've not been able to get any estimates to date. The solid waste vendor has not responded back to our preliminary scope of services that we provided. The utilities vendor did meet with us and has submitted a list of 25 additional questions or information that they're looking for. We're working on that. Some of that will require some additional information from our GIS vendor to provide. Preliminary cost estimates are helpful to gauge the cost versus the county's in-house cost. However, they cannot take the place of actually going out to a request for proposals in the event the board wants to pursue that. The Virginia Procurement Act will require an RFP. So I would recommend that we consider issuing a formal RFP for privatization services if we're to continue from this point. As a critical first step, however, I believe it's necessary, and staff believe it's necessary, to hire a consultant to assist with the RFP process, analyze which of our services have the greatest potential for privatization, develop the actual RFP, analyze the results, and give us their best professional estimate on whether privatization is in the best interest of the county. The county, as you know, has a small staff. We're currently down 2 top administrative positions, and in our judgment, we don't have the expertise or the time to be able to evaluate a potential service delivery change of this magnitude without some help from a consultant. So we would recommend going to an RFP process for the consultant. That would give us the best chance for getting the highest number of firms to respond and ensure that we get an independent, objective analysis of whether privatization makes sense. And that would be the recommendation from this point forward, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Parton.
Ask any questions.
Questions, Mr. Parton, at this time? Mr. Underwood, we just started at the end. If you